Well, I wish I could appreciate art like most people. For some reason, I guess I can blame it on being very busy, but really, that's not really it. I really need to change. I need to fall in love with art.
I'm here to help.
And you certainly have the credentials. You came to America some time ago. You're not a recent addition to our Jewish population.
That's right. I'm afraid to say that I spent more than half my life in Los Angeles, but I came here in '91.
Why here?
We're still trying to figure it out. There is an urban family myth. It was because they showed Pretty Woman. Remember that film?
Sure.
Pretty Woman. And at the end, it's really not about the film, but at the end there is a homeless walking around. And I don't know if you remember at the very end, he says, "Come to LA, it's a city of dreams where everything is possible." And I think we believed it, so.
There's an affinity you have to Bob Dylan, who's not a regular person.
Bob Dylan fits into the theme that I've been developing, an exhibition that's called Larger Than Life. And he definitely qualifies as somebody as larger than life. And I was actually trying this morning, I knew that I have this title, but trying to really figure out and Google it and say, what does it say in the dictionary? What does that really mean? And it's actually something, the way that the dictionary defined it, it's someone who's so charismatic and whose persona is bigger almost than their personality. And I wanted to take that and make that persona accessible to the people. So back to that conversation about art as being a friend. So how do you take someone who's larger than life and make them your friend and make them part of your conversation? So Bob Dylan is certainly one portrait as part of the series.
Possibility.
Yes.
Most people know that he was not born a Dylan, he was born a Zimmerman.
Yes.
I just want you to know in America there was a certain period of time, which is pretty much everything before 1960, where Jews in the entertainment industry had to change their name because they were too complicated.
We went through this, when we were crossing the border in '91. We actually, my last name Gershman, for some reason the Russian officer could not spell it, so he spelled my dad's, mom's, and my last name separately, differently. So we actually became not related. My mom even actually became a man because he couldn't write Irina, and she became Ira. So we very well know the story.
But what's in a name? It's in the success of what you're doing. And to bring a pregnant woman into art, I mean, that takes a lot of thinking, a lot of creativity, just that.
Oh, thank you. The project is called Skin 4, and this was an idea, why am I just painting portraits on canvas? I mean, people can be painted on people. And there's body painting, and that's always decorative, and it's always kind of, performance. But I thought, what if you do a real portrait, a real work of art on a person? And the idea is that in our skin, we have the DNA of our past. We are the sum total of who we were, the memories we carry. As an immigrant, it is very dear to my heart. What do you pack in your suitcases? Your photo album, right? Your memories. It's not really going to be monetary possessions. It's really who you are. And so I painted on this pregnant woman, she's 9 months pregnant, images of her past as her future is literally pushing forward.
Amazing.
It was very cool.
Wow. So, and I want to go back to Dylan just for a minute,
Yes.
and to guitar playing and folk music. Tell us about the guitar that we have here.
A little personal note is that my grandfather was exactly that type of writer in Russia, in Moscow. His name is Mikhail Matusovsky, and you could see why I dropped that last name. Forget it in spelling it here. But my grandfather, Matusovsky, became a legendary poet and songwriter. And that's exactly the kind of writing he did. It was music for the people. So much so that almost everybody, including my mom, she one day came back humming one of his songs at home. And my grandfather said, "Where did you hear it?" And she said, "We wrote it at school," and it was his song. Oh. So it was a kind of a songs for the people. And I think that's what makes, one of the many things that makes Bob Dylan contagious. It makes you feel like it's your song, right? It's written for you and it belongs to you. It's a kind of ownership. So I grew up with my grandfather being a very renowned, larger-than-life person, but at home, I saw him surrounded with all these brilliant men and women, poets and writers and artists who were family, who were like you and me sitting and talking, and they were, I could pinch them and they were real. And so for this portrait, for Bob Dylan's portrait again, I wanted to show him as the real person, and that comes from that understanding of who is behind the brilliance of his writing.
And the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
We'll be back with more Zhenya and the guitar with Bobby Dylan's Touch.
Far else expecting rain.